lot of designers, they speak of aspiration, oh, I want to be like you and this and that, but they don't get it.
It's hard for technology to replicate that kind of spirit and soul.
You kind of like illustrate how designers should be thinking.
Tonight I cannot sleep.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of the Six-Sider Show. In fact, today is our last episode for this season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we have a special guest today, my good friend Dennis Cheok from Upstrs. Upstrs spelled without the vowels. I want to know why.
Oh, that was part of our 10-year... Well, I spent a lot of time just thinking about stuff, obviously. I'll share more. But we reached a 10-year milestone and it was time to declutter. What was beautiful is that you kind of eliminate two vowels and it becomes more distinct, it becomes clearer, it captures the essence. So I think that represents how we want to set our work. So quite distilled with a certain edge.
And there was no...
A bit mafan.
But you have to always have to explain, but interestingly, right, and especially in this time and age, right, the vowels that you took away were the A and the I.
Yes, there's no A and there's no I in Six Sides.
No, that's not that. It's like, no, it's like a rejection of the artificial intelligence. Then today, Upstairs is all about...
Hey, wow.
You didn't see that? You didn't see that?
I don't think I'm rejecting AI yet. Being of my generation and our generation, there's a certain fear and apprehension of technology. I can't even operate my laptop properly now. But also, I think we also having seen your film, we feel for what's analog, what's real, like how someone prefers a book and a vinyl record. So, and that's at the core of what we do, the tangible textures, emotions, right? And it's hard for technology to replicate that kind of spirit and soul.
Okay, before we get carried away, right, Dennis, maybe you want to share a little bit more about yourself for those who still haven't heard about Dennis Cheok, which you're probably living under some rock, but Dennis Cheok is like this really famous, well-documented and highly awarded designers. Okay, take it away, Dennis.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. The idea of fame is something I don't want to think about. It's very subjective and very relative. Yeah, it cannot let these kind of things affect your mind. So I run Upstrs right now without the vowels. We reject AI, apparently. I've been running it for 15 years now. We pride ourselves on being very experimental, perhaps reckless in the way that we approach each project. My background is in architecture. I taught for a while, design studio, when I first started. I trained under Colin Seah, Ministry of Design. Architecture school really changed my mind and blew me away, resets me as a designer and as a person and as a thinker. But learning under Colin Seah really made it real. From that godlike perspective in architectural school, you design from the outside as if you are a god, to him basically hantaming me to see ourselves in the space within every line that you draw and really harnessing the experience of spaces that we craft and carve and create. And then after working with him for a short stint,
How short is short?
3, almost 4 years. I mean, I learned a hell lot there and I thought it's time for me to really take a plunge and try to find my own personal voice. Still finding it now.
But it's like a journey, right?
It is a journey. I fear and suspect that it's a journey that will never end. In fact, it gets more and more exciting as we go along. Well, before that design business and design education, my background was in theatre. So that was considered my one true first found passion, first love. Like before that, I guess I was a victim of what was our education system. I need to make that point because this week, I just came from a parent-teacher briefing where MOE, through the principal of my daughter Trelly's school, was sharing with us the new school syllabus where students can really start to distill the number of subjects that they take. Not so that they can be harder, but they can formulate in character other interests to prepare them for the real world ahead. I thought that was so great that, in secondary school, you start to already think about what your strengths are instead of trying to be a jack or a Jill of all trades. That was golden because I did not have that opportunity. I was just made to do all sorts of subjects. And for someone who's leaning towards autism and ADHD subject, and also color deficient, I have a lot of problems. Red-green color deficiency.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm spilling all these things. I think I will have trouble having clients after this interview. Oh dear.
Hey, if you made it this far into the episode, I've got news for you. We must have done something right. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, it doesn't bite. Give this episode a like, unless you're one of those people who enjoy renovation nightmares. Then maybe don't. And if you know someone about to renovate their home, thinking of hiring a designer, or just want some honesty about the industry, share this with them. Send it to your group chat, heck, forward it to your in-laws. We won't judge. This is the Six-Sider Show, where we design with purpose, ask the questions no one dares to ask, and spill the plaster, not just the paint. Subscribe, like, share, or risk being ghosted by your renovator again.
Yeah, I mean, I find it really hard to memorize names and dates. I find it hard to differentiate colors in a chemistry experiment. So that was trying to drill myself to learn and understand things that my brain just can't. It's just hardwired not to compute. But so landing upon theatre, I woke up. I learned what passion was. I learned what, just giving your all, sleepless nights, hiding under tables, just to rest 3 hours and then after that wake up and start working. The adrenaline of putting up a production. Well, I was not the actor type, memorize lines, and to be or not to be the type. I was more backstage. Production. So my graduation project was a costume design. My mom was a seamstress. My father was a contractor, carpenter. Both are makers. So I drew from that. So the costume was almost like this, a rocking chair, hyper tall, hyper exaggerated in proportion, and I designed a soundtrack that overlays vocals with this hypnotic guitar strum. I designed the lighting, so it kind of just this speckled light on that figure that rocks in and out of that light. And of course I designed the costume, the furniture, the set. Super rewarding. Got slammed upside down by the external examiner who told me to get off my proverbial high horse. Literally, but I mean, I was butthurt. Of course, we are so driven and governed by our egos at that early stage. But I knew what excites me. Being in architecture was another fluke. In retrospect, it's God-given that this kind of twist of fate. Yeah, in primary school when the teacher asks you, "What's your ambition?" You'd be, I want to be a doctor, astronaut. Mine was, I just want to design my own house. And I remember vividly drawing this totally unbuildable structure. And, I want to design my own house. Build a house for me and my family, live there. But as school went on and I was made to feel not enough. And that was a dream that I just quickly forgot about. Ending up in architecture and passing the aptitude test was unbelievable for me. I don't know what I can do besides what I do now. And I think maybe you can claim the same for yourself, that we're very fortunate to wake up every day to be able to do what we love. I mean, it's a difficult path, but there's nothing that rewards us internally. By no means am I talking financially. Not the right path, if that's what you want out of life.
Just the opportunity to to live your passion.
To create,
Yeah.
to create and have that license to conceive of something in your mind and in imagination, apply what excites you, draw from what inspires you, and have it realized, not solely by your own hands, but by a team, right? I mean, it's so collaborative what we do.
Yeah.
Craftsmen, carpenters, whatnot. And in recent times, also artists, musicians, that I try to pull into our work.
Yeah, I remember you had one OCBC project where you had a bonsai tree that you had to work with the horticulturists.
Humid House,
Yeah.
John and team. Yeah, yes. So that project was one that was created in the thick of the pandemic at a time when our industry was just kind of like losing hope. And with a project that suddenly has, from an HDB flat, resale flat, to a bank project, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a great opportunity. And we can actually afford to pull in just talents that need work and need hope. And I myself get excited to be able to collaborate with those who are so great at what they do. So there's Human House. So they came in to do botanic design for the piece. We pulled in Roger and Sons to use local. They have this thing called, still do, the local tree project where, NParks just fells so many trees, right? And it's quite astounding the kind of species we get in Singapore. I didn't know that until Roger and Sons. And they take these locally grown trees back to their workshops and create them and craft them into pieces of woodwork that not only celebrates the craft but also our biodiversity. I mean, homegrown in every understanding, because we put in all the different brands. Our FF&E stack was a nightmare. All the number of people we tried to support and buy from. So, I mean, that was glorious.
And actually, from the work that you have been producing, I've been a fan of your work since I believe it was a home and decor feature where somehow you took away all the walls and it was almost like you put a container, a 20-footer container right smack in the center of the space.
The crates apartment.
Yeah, and then after that, you have like this huge cement block table where that's the main thing that kind of greets you, and everything else is like encased in this container, and then just getting people to walk around this center nucleus. I find that very refreshing, and there was no way in hell that I would think like that, especially not from a HDB flat. The thing is, we always look at HDB flat and we see, these beams and the columns they're always going to be there. And then you always also have another group, which is the homeowners will say that, no lah, let's not try to be so adventurous. And your own personal restraint or your own personal understanding of the space versus, or rather together with the homeowners telling you, or rather being conservative. But you somehow manage to overcome that. And there's this very dramatic flair that I feel you exhibit, not just personally in person, right? But also in your work as well. How do you do this, man?
Wow, that was a lot. And wow, first off, to revisit that project, where should I even start? It started out as a favor to very close friends, family friends. Shout out to you, Keith and Sikin, who for some reason trusted me to renovate their first home, did some alteration work thereafter when their family grew and when they relocated to a larger floor plate. Resale flat, Bukit Permai. They came back to me and whipped out just one single Pinterest image, right? So I take zero credit for the source of inspiration. It was from them. And in that picture was, I guess, a home. Doesn't matter. What was key was that in that space is a red color shipping container. It appeared to be kind of anchored in the middle of open space. But that photo was an optical illusion. So there was the container, and then there was a mirror that kind of reflects space. So that was my only comment. Like, that's an illusion. Let's make it real. Yeah.
And they bought in.
Yeah. Thankful for clients who are very open to ideas. But I suppose given our track record and portfolio, we tend to attract a certain type. So those with personality, very strong, bold personality, individuals with a more unconventional way of living tend to gravitate towards our work, and then they will come and talk to us. Before I go into detail, Ashley, what you just shared about that project, when you talk about the circulation, we talk about that dining table that was almost as if hewn from the concrete floor and raised up, and that's being the anchor. Yep, absolutely spot on. That table was really the heart and soul of the project. This is a family that loves gathering around the table. We still do. And particularly, they throw homemade popiah parties. So part of that long block that's concrete has a more atas edge. So slightly elevated with Carrara marble, but within the expensive Italian marble is like a slab of, those popiah stalls that you go to, that long board where you roll your popiah. Yeah, I found one.
So the wood part.
The wood part, so that one you can lift up. We have some stainless steel trim that you can, hygiene is number one. So you can clean your old popiah board where you roll it. So you read the purpose and function of the space, the intentions. That's a gift. Wait, Ashley. You are like damn freaking gifted. Like, are you like a space reader or something?
No.
It's crazy how spot on you are with that reading and with this framework of questions. Yeah. Think about it.
I didn't see it that way. I just thought that number one, I think firstly, food is a very Asian thing. And almost every project that I've worked on so far, right, whether it's celebratory or even in moments of depression, food is a very important thing. And so every time we kind of work on these kind of projects, right, I realized that the importance of it. So when you have the container thing, I thought it was really very refreshing. But somehow or other, despite that, the concrete slab and all that, what I could see was the Asian family coming together, the gathering, the entertainment, because that would not change one. So that's what I saw. So something that's really very avant-garde, very adventurous, brutal even, to a certain extent. But then when the people come together and eat and have activities, then all that industrial vibes all go already, all disappear already. That's how I saw it.
Because the human elements, the human factor is in place, and that takes center stage.
The human relating to the space.
Yeah, the space is a backdrop. I mean, as much as we want to glorify our work, all that work is
for the occupants.
Yeah, solely for the purpose of use. Right, and you were right in describing food as something that unites. It's one of our, as humans, our fundamental basic needs: shelter, sustenance, and then thereafter the emotional ties that come with it. Just a little bit about the materials, because you described it and mentioned it a little bit. So the result of, the palette was basically raw plywood construction and cement screen. Two key components. The rest are just paint. White paint, and then we didn't even want to conceal or box up any of the electrical wiring, but that's the conduits.
The conduits,
yeah, form its own language on its own. So the whole design process for us was one of really restraint and prudence. The reason why we rely on those two traits, maybe three, if we count electrical works, is that, that's basically the core traits. We need a wet works in, we need carpentry, and instead of trying to, clad over the plywood with some artificial material, just let the material speak, and hopefully save us some cost spendings in the process as well. And that lends the project its
language.
It's language, it's
Yeah.
identity. So, I mean, when we talk about distillation, by taking out the A and the I, that's an example lah, of what we do and how we think. But so the magic for projects like this was the key intention of doing it was nothing out of pure friendship. I didn't even think of photographing it, but through this project, Lookbox Living, the magazine, approached us, needed a project. And at that point, we were like, I have nothing.
So it's not home and decor, it's loot box.
It was, I think later on, well, this project had a lot of legs. It appeared in over many platforms, even in media. It went to Australia as well, under Habitus. This project was our big break, as small and humble in scale as it was. So everyone dreams about that big break, right? Which kind of gives them visibility and all. So Lookbox came to us. So they are the first one to see value in our work and wanted a project to put in the magazine. And we couldn't even afford a photographer then, but they sent Wang Wei Liang. I joke that I'm married to Wei Liang. Like, it was love at first sight. Like, the synergy that we have, the way that we frame and think about capturing our spaces and the angles, spot on. I never met a photographer who read my mind like you read my intentions. Yeah. So I mean, wow, I'm thinking about it now, that projects and its genesis really was the start of many things for us. Yeah, we went on later to submit it to Lookbox's inaugural Design Awards. That was a big thing, and lo and behold, our first showing at in the Design Award arena. And that was after 6-7 years of doing work quietly in a bubble, never thinking that, show lah. I was of the mindset, say,
I was at the event. I think you walked away with the most number of
right,
wooden trophy,
yeah,
right?
those
Yeah.
blocks. Yeah, we swept, I think, 5 awards, including Projects of the Year and Interior Design Firm of the Year. I was like, oh my God. So I think moral of the story that many can take away from this is just do the work. Do the work that feels natural and right to you. Don't get too caught up in, all the bells and whistles. Because I do get some designers tell me, oh, I want to be like you. I want to be famous. I want to be seen. I want to be whatever. But I mean, let's focus on the work. And if you do what you are meant to do, the right opportunities will come and the right people will come and support you in more ways than you can appreciate and imagine.
This statement that you just said, right? I'm reminded of what Colin said. Traces of that. Colin said, okay, you say do the work, right? Do the grind, right? Colin said, ask the right questions. Almost similar, right? Ask the right questions, beauty will flow. I remember that statement.
I can imagine him saying that.
Yeah. So you obviously have been mentored by him. And what I kind of want to put together this story of yours, right? It's the fact that I think number one is that we don't always have clients like that. And when we have clients like that, would you know what to do with it? To the point whereby you not only put in your soul, your work, your effort. I mean, everybody goes through work, right? There's a lot of activities, but in your case, with the right project, the right chemistry with the customers, the right opportunity, that activity became an accomplishment. And I think a lot of designers, they speak of aspiration, oh, I want to be like you and this and that, but they don't get it. Like, if you're handed $1 million, do you know what to do with it? And in your case, is I think you grab every freaking opportunity that's there, and you take it upon yourself, that ownership, to exhibit your dramatic flair, the way that you study the space. And I like to see it as it's a bit of a cinematic approach, because your work with the photographer and all that, and what is being displayed, right, tells that story, right? And it's important to kind of appreciate that if one is to look at your work and not just look at the space, I think it's the little nuances that goes into your work. And I think I want you to take that opportunity to see, or rather to share with people, like, I mean, what are the efforts that you go into, especially the nuances. I remember even back to that crate project, right? Even the doors, right? The doors had a story too, right?
Yes, different doors had different purposes.
Yeah.
You probably would have gravitated towards those that with the plywood doors, but with the 3D relief of those cornice
Yeah.
doors
Yeah.
that we used to hate
Yeah.
or love. It's my little nod to that
I think
trauma.
prata, is it?
Huh?
I mean, the carpenters would call, I don't know, the trimmings.
We call that beadings lah. Then what do you call it? Prata, burrata.
In Singapore, the carpenters, when you have wood, and then in the old days shop house, right? And you look at like the 2x4 here, right?
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
when they put up the 4 feet by 8 feet planks, there will be gaps, ma. So then what they do is they put the beading to cover the gap. So when you look at an old shop house, if you stare out, right, you see the 8x4s, then you see the grid work. That thing that they put up there, they call it prata, because it's like that.
I had a recently acquainted carpenter who uses the word pata, ice cream, all that a lot. Now at least I understand a little bit.
It's called prata.
All right, mind blown.
Again, the subject of food.
Okay, wow, you asked many questions. Where do I start? First, I guess if you hand me $1 million, what would I do? To be honest, I would prefer if you handed me a more restrained budget, because then that forms parameters. It really forces us to be not lazy. But having said that, of course, with more resources, we can play more. Play more with details, how we articulate certain expressions and gestures, and a kind of access to materials and craft that we may not be able to do. So not saying no to budget, of course. The notion of what inspires. Funnily, it's to conceptualize and respond to a particular set of contexts. So usually it's space or place, then the users, and then of course the function and how humans choose to live. I think it's my background. I cannot help it. The background of loving literature, poetry, poetics, and given the theatrical nuances, I mean, that's, remember, my first love. So that really anchors and grounds my worldview, right? And then being offered the opportunity of architectural education and being suddenly given this license to translate that mental thought process and mental language, translate that into tangible space.
It hasn't switched off yet.
I mean, if it switches off, I think I will be a dead
probably.
corpse on the floor. That's
But how do you maintain that then?
all of us think are wired in a certain way, and I tend to be like that lor. Now I feel conscious. Thanks, Ashley.
Because the thing is, there will be certain projects, like commercial projects, where perhaps maybe even from a visual identity or the corporate identity that they have, they may have certain restrictions.
I mean, I love a corporate brand or just a brand entity, particularly if it's Singaporean and homegrown. As much as I love a human personality, to me, two are one and one is all, like it forms part of the subjects and the user that you're designing for. So maybe I sound a bit more like yeah, papa, yeah, because we're in an interview setting. But I mean, when we're working, the work gets real. We don't talk about poetics, all that's at the start. that forms my North Star and guiding ideological foundation for each project. But we start off with very pragmatic things. The layout plan, how do you intend to use the space? What are your user requirements? Operationally, what? Down to like how many millimeters is your sound system? What height should we mount this console? Things like that.
And then you slowly bring in your stuff.
For me, if there were a formula, first answer the tangible and pragmatic. And we do it very rigorously. So it's not just like, okay, like that, Frank Gehry, one floor plan, one crushed tissue paper, and that's it. Yeah. Our layout studies are just kind of like iteration 2 ABC, one iteration 5 DEF. Like we flesh out just planning and pragmatic possibilities just to know that the answer, that two-dimensional layout answer, is the best design solution. Before we design from the ground up, then that's when we start to articulate and layer and find really, every space has its unique rhythm and DNA lah. So you just try to be more sensitive as you go along, and it comes very naturally for me. It's very intuitive.
My question is, at the scale that you're at right now, are you involved in every bit of that?
A bit too much, yes.
Really, yeah.
Really. I mean, it's something I've been grappling with, and the hard truth and answer is that for the firm that I am building, it's hard to scale and replicate. I have a very specific approach and point of view and personality in interaction that it's almost irresponsible for me to just leave it to someone else to fill that expectation. The clients pay a fee for my time and my experience and how I lead and run a project. I still go shopping with clients to look at furniture, test sofas. But I enjoy that lah. I mean, yeah, to just kind of bring someone. I mean, now we also love and know the retailers well, and we get excited when I discover, oh, this brand released just this chair with this beautiful detailing. Let's try to find a project for it.
The thing is, why I asked that question was like, especially because as we grow and after you've gotten the awards and you've gotten the attention, more businesses come and everyone wants that amount of attention. And forgive me for being rude. What I'm trying to say is that how then are you able to, conscientiously replicate or have your touch in all of these projects? So my challenge was that, did you make sure that, okay, these guys, okay, you all run the footwork first, I come in, I'll inject my flair into it, and then after that, okay, you all take it, But what I'm hearing right now is that no, you didn't actually pass it to them. You're very involved.
No, not rude at all. Though maybe I painted a skewed picture, like very hands-on, of course, particularly with the client interactions, especially at the ideation stage.
Early stage.
Yeah, because I'm not the most technical person, so I need to hand it over progressively to those who are better at that.
The project management and all that.
Mark, who joins as a fellow director, you know him. So he fills that role superbly well. But now back to the ideation.
Sorry, he does the manifestation for you and all that. Project
He
management.
turns the dreams into reality, in simple words. We cannot survive without an individual with that kind of talent and skill set. But so with every project, there's a semblance and degree of how involved I am. But to be there to formulate that precept, I'm definitely part of that. Right, and I guess that's also one of what I've come to realize is what I'm really gifted at, which is to be able to, like, we spend a lot of time with clients, talking, understanding them, understanding their quirks, and when you establish a certain level of trust, the layers really start to peel and reveal, and that excites me because then the more uniquely them that they manage, the clients manage to reveal, the more personal the project can be. Right? And very quickly, I can, again, due to, I guess, the background of both architecture school, when you look at core intentions and then also the softer skill sets from arts and theatre, like I could string together quite effortlessly, if I may dare say, the essence of each project. Yeah, so that is easy work for me to formulate that. Whether or not I continue to work on it, I enjoy CADing, plans. To me, there's a certain beauty besides the pragmatic part of things. The satisfaction level of satisfaction from cutting out with layers, language, hatch patterns, templates, that floor plan. Sure. Yeah, but so sometimes oftentimes I do establish the precepts and then pass on to someone, though my eyes are still required to edit, refine, and lend touches, right? And the hope is that this grooming and training nurtures designers and creatives who could learn from the approach and then formulate their own language in time to come.
With this, we talk about risk, right? Which is the idea that you flirt with unconventional forms as well as to kind of express them with different mood. And do you think that you have any particular project that you took the most amount of risk? And do you think it has paid off?
The true answer is I see each one as my opportunity to do my best work or my last projects. Like if I don't give it that degree of want and aspiration, I might as well not take it. Right? Because then it's pain and suffering later on. But I mean, in the end, pragmatically and practically, each one offers us different avenues to pursue. Yeah, so quite idealistic, quite optimistic. Probably not the best way to run a business when you need to talk about resources and where you park and allocate it.
But I see that's really your thing, because there are not many designers who name their projects. I mean, architects do it all the time because it's part of a space, and then that development has got, like, the geographical, the landscape itself, there are a lot of inspiration. But when you're doing an interior space, right? I mean, I for one, I don't know how to, as creative as I think I am, right? I cannot come up with a name for my project. But you can always seem to find a narrative for your project. And so much so that you have named them, right? That just now you mentioned the crate lah. Sorry, what's the name of the OCBC project again?
Oh, that one is very straightforward. It's OCBC Premier Private Client.
Oh, no special name for that one.
I mean, it did not warrant itself that, though for me that is really, it really is about the brand and the name, where we draw from not just
the Chinese element,
the Chinese Oriental origins of the brand and what it is now, being premium, being very worldly, being very advanced. It's the marriage of the two. And we try to translate that within each of the spaces. Like a catalogue of East meets West, as cliche as that sounds. But to name them is, again, like you said, a creative indulgence like own self show only. Those that with the name, it just kind of fits naturally. Like those projects I shared with you, first, the art installation aside, there's one called the Kintsugi. When you hear of that name, you automatically, the mind imagines what's very familiar, right? Like some dark textured surface, cracked bowls with gold lining filling these cracks. It's a risk that we chose that name. But I mean, the name also came naturally. It was part of the conversation, part of one of the Pinterest titles. Also, the owner had also personal ties with that name in his past. We named it so because of what the term represents: embracing imperfection, seeing beauty in not being whole. It was a reflection of the chapter and season in the client's life, but very spatially, it just simply means that in dark spaces, there's always that nuance or that streak of light, as temporal as it is. Like just walking by, you see the shimmer of light. Yeah, light guides in every moment. That project we designed it in moments, and it was the start of that, and increasingly that's how we envision our spaces or conceive each space, like put ourselves in there. What's that first experience? What do you see? What guides your eye? What do you feel? How's the lighting? Is it harsh? Is it open? And how do you move on from that space? So it's sequence of spaces, like how you would walk through a space naturally, but with a lot of intention.
Do you take risks in your projects?
The biggest risk is running the firm and approaching design the way we do.
Do you think you would have fared better elsewhere, not Singapore?
Wow. That's probably a question that I avoid asking myself.
Good that you're here, then I can ask you.
Damn, right? Like, tonight I cannot sleep. Think about life. In a way, and in my earlier, younger, more formative years, I do wish that I'm in a more open environment and landscape and surrounding where the way I think, the way I do things may not raise an eyebrow. Even the way I look represents myself, right? More normal. Though, on the other hand, once in a while I'll try to indulge in thought, should there be another city or country or culture that I prefer myself to be in and to do my work? The answer is no. Clear no, true and true. Like, homegrown boy, educated here, besides the family ties, like the friends and ties with people, individuals in the industry that I got to know. I value every individual relationship and friendship for who they are, what they represent, what they do, what they're really good at. I love, not just in the design and construction industry, what we're close to, but we're now also spreading our circle of influence or outreach to things like artists, local artists. Like, they're doing such great work. And there's botanic design. Human House is just one name. There's like Sense Design that we brought into OCBC as well. There's like all these people that I love, and I just want to really immerse our work and seek that synergy, see our work really as canvases and vessels, as conduits.
I don't know.
To pull in.
It sounds like a very politically correct answer.
Right. SG60. But no, I'm the one living under a rock. But I mean, this is to see everyone grow with their own story. I'm just in love. So totally mad over heels with the talent, the mad pool of talent. I can cry just thinking about this. Like, everyone's so freaking gifted. Right? And with each project, I just look for opportunities to just kind of like, hey, today I can work with Win Lin Tan. And when we shoot, maybe let's use a human prop. Let's get movement artist Sonia Quack. Like, if we have time, let's talk about that.
I saw that in the pictures that you shared.
Yeah, that was so exciting for me. And it really was, in terms of production, well, that was crazy what we committed ourselves to. Apart from just trying to shoot and style a space, we have another human equation. Bring artist in to lend her physical presence, sitting at that first scene. Our storyboard didn't even start with the apartment. So this was sited at Mayor House. Woha and Yabu created that shell. I'm excited already just to work within that space. Yeah. And that drop off was the start of the entry sequence, where she just there's this rock in that very dramatic architectural cabinet setting. Then there's that rock, and there's Sonia becoming one, turning almost alien-esque. It sets off the narrative of what that space is, or that personal meaning of the project, the hard and soft. In Sonia's words, every space has a masculine and feminine presence. And our work is very, very architectural, very masculine. She's trying to evoke that feminine spirit within the space. So the hard rock and then the soft human contours becoming one. That's the first scene. Then you take the lift up, enter the leather-clad corridor, almost like a elongated vestibule, very dark. At the end is a streak of light, natural light within that very womb-like
Let me look at that.
space. That's her sitting in the space. At the background, that disc, it was hand painted on all.
Is it like some epoxy resin?
It's almost like this acrylic lens.
Oh.
At first, I thought it was glass, but because of the weight, we use epoxy.
It's a disc, it's not spherical.
It's a disc, flat disc, but it has quite significant thickness to it. And Winlin, with her background was in Chinese watercolor, but she really, wow, her strokes so emotional. And she paints with not just paint, but she's an alchemist of sorts. Like there's metallic elements and speckles within the pigments. I don't know where she gets these pigments from. Paints three-dimensionally, and so you're meant to experience it from all directions. And what's most beautiful is when natural light hits it, that it kind of refracts and tints and colors the light through that. So that's the backdrop. We commissioned her for that piece of work. And sitting at the front is Sonia. Wow, I remember that moment when we shot that scene. That was the first scene we shot. The one with the rock was the very last one. It was
She's holding a...
Yes, I want to talk about that. So this project is about the heart. She herself assumed, I witnessed before my eyes, this person just assumed herself as a human heart. And in her hands is holding an artificially printed heart. Very meta, right? And sitting there in the light, I was like, oh my God, it was theater. It was theater during the production process, and all that we could capture, and that totally didn't do it justice, was that still image of her being that. And the heart was gifted to me by Carlo Barnon. He also trained under Colin Seah and has gone on to pursue the opposite route that I am. He's really into tech and AI, but harnesses it to really create. So that heart is actually a connector for an architectural structure. Oh. Every part is very organic but unique, and it's one little part of a whole. He was talking about it at one of seminars, and was using it to demonstrate. I told him, I'm so in love with what you're doing. He just gave it to me like that. I was like, oh my God.
So it's like something like that the struts basically come out from...
So you screw on the supporting tensile rods, and that will hold the building form.
And you call it a heart?
It looks like a heart, like a it's 3D printed, but it looks like a porcelain heart. Yeah, and the subsequent pictures, like one, you see Sonia kind of seated. The shot is to showcase the cantilever island counter. That one was designed by Yabu. So we honored it and gave it more wings to form and grow out of the island, the dining table. But I thought it was visually and conceptually cool to showcase the cantilever with a human flower pot. So Sonia then becomes like this mound of clay. Like all of us can be seen as jars of clay, right? Yeah. So she's that prop that just sits almost, again, dehumanized and sitting there as if I will place a flower pot.
The lighting is fantastic. Was it, I mean, did you all have to add additional lights?
The lights are all intentional and on site, but Wei Liang, our photographer, our relationship is based off of us walking this journey where we just kind of poke each other to shake things up a little bit. So Wei Liang devotes a lot of attention to capturing lighting, right, in very complex ways, and he enhances some of it. And in one of the other shots, you see Sonia perched at a window of a hidden projection room. In the backdrop, you can see Maya House's concrete shell. You can see the horizontal bands outside the window where she was
I can see
angular. So she was assuming the structure and angles of the facade in that scene. So in a way, the series of images are also our homage not only to the project and its client and intentions, but also of the context. Like it's a celebration of all that we love and what made the project unique.
This set of photographs, right, is like an adventure.
Adventure.
Yeah, it's like an adventure because the risk, I mean, it's unconventional and you're experimenting. Really feels like it's an adventure, lor, like your journey with Wei Liang in taking these shots.
Yeah, that was part of the reason why I decided to do it, apart from thinking a lot about life, is the funny thing is what I have shared with you so far seems very natural, like about the past, background, how I conceive of work. The truth is, it took me 14 years or close to that lah. Definitely more than a decade of being in practice when I suddenly thought to myself, hey, I can jolly and bloody well bring in all that I'm passionate about, right, in my work. See it, each piece as that raw canvas of infinite possibility. And if you were to ask me what inspired me in that direction, it wasn't a film director, it wasn't an architect. Like I have it tattooed on myself. Like I have a few tattoos. One was about self, one was about parenthood. This, so sequentially, this was about purpose. So that underscore. So if we were to distill all parts of the brand in the end, that maybe just that band will.
The one above your U.
Yeah, now it's above. We haven't released that branding yet. Don't. So that underscore went from the backside now to Macron sits on top. Yeah, next to it is Alexander McQueen's signature. It spells Lee with a XOXO.
Wow.
This was after I watched the McQueen biopic at the projector. Cried like a freaking baby watching it. That story. But what really opened up my eyes was just how much of a visionary someone like that is. I mean, of course, the work needs to freaking speak for itself, like the craft, the ideation, the references behind every garment. Mind-blowing already. This is such a talented and gifted individual that, the way that he conceived of the work is not just the pieces, not just the work in itself, not just the tailoring, the sewing, the garment, the way it falls on the body, the way it's used, but how it's presented. Every show is really a glimpse into just the vastness of that mind. He can draw from art, from culture, the whole production. So he designs even the way that you get to experience and appreciate the work. Of course, there's a fine line between really building up a full and total vision in every granular element and component that makes it like a production, or it can be a gimmick and a distraction from subpar work, like place a half-naked figure in a project just to hide a window that's not even like,
or even the hanging of the or even the hanging of the blue brass, right? What's with that?
That one. That's from Plastic Silo. Actually, the start of our intention to push beyond the spatial disciplines. That was an art installation for Rewired Festival. And
was it commissioned by anyone? Or is your entry into something?
No. We were approached by Plus Collaborative. So Mervyn and Cheryl, again, individuals and a firm that I've grown to know and love so much. They are great curators and storytellers. And Mervyn's mind is unbelievably cerebral and intelligent. But anyways, they decided to create this thing called Rewired Festival. And that was the first iteration of it, where they pick a neighborhood or landscape in Singapore. And in that instance, it was Little India. Wow, that dude really immersed himself, eat prata, drink teh tarik, get to know every shopkeeper, not just the old ones, but those younger startups, ice cream parlor owners and all that. And with his intimate knowledge, starts to weave a route through the landscape to see and experience different things. And he roped us in to take over, in an old shop house row, just off Desker Road.
The Aobui Hang.
Wow, that is beyond just a back alley, because it was, imagine a row of shop house, then suddenly Bogey. So it connects the front and the back, and it's just kind of this empty plot between that void, that interstitial gap in the urban fabric. And say, okay, this one, this is your plots. How exciting is that already as a premise?
What's the scale? I mean, we're talking
It's
about...
a shop house unit, the whole length of it. And he also gave us the starting premise, like, because you, being the uncle that he is, you go and walk, see the vegetable store and realize, hey, all the shops. So interesting.
All the crates.
Yeah, the plastic crates that are very mobile. When the shop opened, they just kind of lay out these crates, sell all the fruits and vegetables. And when they close shop, all the crates just come back in. Something very smart and efficient about that kind of a spatial intervention. And it's like, okay, use that as the material.
And you even painted all the cable ties as well.
No. It's easy to, like, the
They
crates
already
came in that blue. The cable ties that we used to bind. So the crates then become almost like Lego blocks for us to build a temporal structure that we can take away and reuse later on. It just turned out that to find cable ties in the same matching color was easy. And we also celebrated it and let it be a hairy structure. The only thing we spray painted were the plastic fruits.
Yeah, I think that's the nuance that
Yeah.
we're talking about here, which is like the crates were not even it's not foreign.
It's not foreign.
It's not foreign. It was part of the ecosystem there.
Yeah, it was
And then the
carved
only
from
thing
the
that's
land.
foreign is the blue that you decided to paint on the fruits.
Yeah, and that gave it such an alienness, new presence. So what we created was a series of, it's called Plastic Silo. So it's an attempt to use these crates as building blocks. And of course, the shophouse typology is about a series of spaces defined by walls with certain apertures like ventilation, windows, doors, windows. So we just kind of play around with a limited and restrained design and building language, created pockets of spaces that leads one from the front-facing cell fruits, and it gets darker and darker towards the rear. Like, you get into the heart of the context, where you have the Desker roads at the back. So that part with the blue brass hanging is called Dirty Laundry. That room is called Dirty Laundry, and nothing dirty about it except that it's a nod to people hanging their laundry in the back alley. And with this project, you will see, if you squint a little bit, this looming figure, bald one.
Yeah, I just saw
His name is Paul, a very dear friend and guardian of my soul, spiritually. He's a man of many. If you find me poetic, you should try talking to him. He speaks like a
Oscar Wilde.
like a book, like mythology book. So I wrote Paul in to work on the soundscapes there, and again, like the materials we use, he kind of first reads and recorded just sounds like bicycle ringing, the coins jangling in the cans, whatnot, those sounds from a local context, and starts to, like, with each layer of space, there are different speakers that we bought from Mustafa. Solar powered speakers to play layered soundscapes that takes you from the surface and landscape to something more David Lynch and more kind of distorted. Through different eras, you get like olden tangos and stuff, and all different sounds just kind of loop and mingle as you walk through. I mean, a project like that made me like feel defeated in how we capture the output of a project. Like, it's a story and experience we can't tell in stills or images, and I'm still treading the line as to, do we want to go into video documenting how do you call it, videography, the spaces, because I mean it becomes the effort in terms of production becomes more and more, potentially it can also become more and more distracting.
Well, I mean, the thing is, already through your lens, you're already defining the narrative that you want them to see that way, right? So, I mean, when you decide to go into videography, it's probably an extension of that, albeit that perhaps you can even document the process, which is, I think so far, it's not seen your work lah. You are seeing the curated look, the manicured look. So I think that's that potential, yeah. But the thing is, so right now I found this canvas and I'm using this as my palette, you know. You're still doing design, and that's still your palette. But it's like low key your theater lah, low
Vanity
key.
projects.
Yeah. Indulgences are like
indulgence, but in a way that at least you are convinced that it's meaningful and necessary.
I don't know. I mean, if you ask me, I've given this right now, and that's part of my narrative. If I made it more profound, I don't think anyone will get it. I make it palatable. I could still make some money off it, and I'll get to a point whereby fuck it, this will be my thing, and I don't care what people want or expect from me, and then I'll do what I want to do. But in the meantime, right, there's all these people that are looking at me and us, right? And it's not just my vision, because that's very selfish, right? It's how I use that vision, right? It's some form of energy that translates to them in a very positive manner, and then eventually making that profitable, sustainable, and we could scale lah. And then at some point, right, I'll walk away from it all because the template is there already. Carry on, but I'll go back to my own other indulgences. So that's the real me lah. The real me is that I'll probably would not do this for very long, but let's set the bar damn bloody high while I'm at it. Yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is permanent anyway. We can't do this forever, whatever that we do. But to find that balance between that integrity of the vision or indulgence and in a way that is unapologetic, but yet also sensible as a business. Hard. But then you look at brands like Rick Owens, Alexander McQueen, they really build their reputation and have a certain success in terms of
The thing is,
following.
the thing is, you could be in an environment where this is a norm, and then you disrupt, right? And you get all the attention, and people give you all that creative liberty. Or you enter into an industry that's so defined, the rules are so established that you bring in something so novel, right? And you get rejected right away. And so the only way that you could still have the last laugh, right, is don't die first. Survive, and then
Your own risk, huh?
find
That's
a
kind
way
of
to
advice.
redefine that story, lor.
Yes. Create your own market in the end is the ultimate goal and aspiration. And it could be it might really boil down to tenacity and willpower.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see it as a process of fine tuning and refining what we do, and not to challenge conventions or established ways of doing things because of its own sake. Relevance law. And you can't force these things.
Sure.
Yeah, but anyways.
Makes sense. Okay, we're gonna ask the 3 more questions. Yeah. So if I'm gonna ask you, right, if you have to strip your design process down to 3 essential questions that you always ask yourself at the start of the project, what are they? I mean, the most cliche thing is, what are the functions? What are the inhabitants' habits? And then
It is that.
True.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how you frame or rename or redefine it, every project is the sum of 3 broad factors. One is place, person or people, then the purpose. What you draw from each of them is really up to your genius, the genius and limitations of your mind, and how giving the subject matter is. Right? You cannot design without considering the site and context. That's place, right? And even if your site is a black box theatre void of anything, that is still a starting premise. Then you start to imagine a build and intervene. People definitely, because that's what we do. We design for the purpose of human use, and that's often a life thing. And we can draw from personality, we can draw from quirks, and by person, it can also be a brand or an entity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every brand has a personality. Right, and then what ties these two together is you have the place, you have the user. What is the purpose
The why lah.
of this project? Yeah, why does it exist? Why does it need you as a creator and designer to create something within this space for this person? And that's
The establishing context.
yeah, and that's where you try to push things a little bit more, because that's where you have more leeway. It's what's place and what's person is somewhat fixed, but where you go from that, you can offer opportunities and possibilities. The beauty of that is with purpose, then it still boils back to the starting point of place, because you are in the end placemaking. The more successful spaces, like what makes a house a home, right, is a sense of place.
You can dictate certain patterns.
Yes, we can either choose to respond to and enable certain ways of using a space, or we can inject and encourage new ways. But that one need to be careful lah. Need to be careful, especially in the context of designing a home, because this is what Selwyn from Farm came to me and told me, wow, Dennis, I cannot possibly do what you do. Like, I can create commercial projects, brand new spanking retail experiences for brands like Aesop, create new hospitality brands and hotels, restaurants and all that. I cannot design someone's home and tell them how to live. It's beyond me, he says. It's like, oh, really? I never see it that way. Yeah, but it's a huge responsibility. And I mean, if you're forceful about it, you really, instead of enabling someone ease and comfort and convenience, you kind of, on a daily basis, like, wow, very jialat, why this table so long that I cannot like walk across. It's very exhausting like that. That's one very straightforward example. I mean, that goes on now. But so yeah.
Place, people, and purpose. And I can't help but again draw a parallel to a writer called Simon Sinek. Not sure whether you've heard of him. So this guy is like if you go Google him, right? His TED Talks is like the number one. And this is the guy who wrote the book called Start With Why. And it's like almost everything that you're gonna do and be successful at what you're doing always starts with the why. And turns out, of course, why equals purpose. And then he developed a framework where why also is also known as, I mean, in media or in filmmaking, we have to establish context. You need to kind of 表明立场 very early, right? So, and then he developed this thing called the golden rule, where you start with the why, then you go into the how, and then you do the what. Many times, right, people are always saying, why you do this? Or they answer the what. They don't answer the why. And then it becomes like the purpose, the real motivations are all lost.
It gets buried because your starting premise is more of the outcome already. Like it's a more form-based approach almost.
I can't believe how, to a certain extent, we lost that. There are many schools of
really?
that. No, it's
That's
true.
very tragic, I would say.
We have interviewed many designers, right? And they talk about what they do. They may even spend a whole lot of time talking about how they do it, but they don't really talk about why they do it. The motivations are, well, very clearly in a very commercial world that we are in right now. It's that I'm doing it because of money, lah. You know, the customer come to me, they
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That is
Fair
in a
enough.
way why.
that's definitely their why, right?
And if that's your stick, then I give it to this individual who just owns it.
But
Nothing-
then
no
no-
shame in that.
I mean, we were having a conversation yesterday with Jackie, right? And he was Jackie does humanitarian design. He volunteers and then he would do like a library in a bus, displaced housing and conversion of containers into something, and he does that. And then And it's always made me feel that there's this thing that design is not just for people who can afford your services, but like good design, it's a remit that we should all be giving to everyone, not just people who can afford our design one. And then it goes back to this idea of purpose. A few years ago, Jackie and I, we also worked on this project that we did called Kao Bar, where we go and install grab bars in all over the one room flats for the old folks. And it's not just in the bathroom, because some of these occupants are amputees due to diabetes and all that. Some of them are stroke victims. So if you think about it, right, the HDB and certain agencies, they actually install grab bars in the bathroom. But if you think about it, right, at home, where else do you need? You need to walk around, right?
Everywhere that you need to inhabit, basically,
exactly.
you need that support.
So we went to go and get like 30 cm grab bars, and we start to position them in strategic areas of the house. And then I think that's where the designer's skill set comes in. We went to a space, and then we see, okay, this is her work triangle, or this is her work square. She moves around this way. We install the grab bars in those kind of situations.
So for different houses, the kind of the usage mapping is slightly different.
Correct.
We kind of create that
Yeah.
that's physical support, and not a mobile device, but one that it's just so much more stable to hold onto a wall than to a
In a way, exactly. Because the thing is, these things are cumbersome. I mean, you'll be surprised that, and I've never heard of this story until when we started doing this. The old lady was saying that, how nice if we can get the heaters as well. And I said, you don't, it's not equipped with the heaters? I said, no, these flats are not equipped with the heaters. It's rental. And then she said that because she's an amputee, right? So these are great, but on days where it's cold, I actually have to boil water and bring it to the bathroom so that it doesn't feel so bad. But boiling water and putting it into a pail, and being an amputee, can you imagine? So if she's on the crutches, or if she's on those kind of walkers, right? How she's going to hold the bucket?
yeah.
Which brings back this idea of purpose, law. And I think that when it comes to purpose, right, yes, we could be looking at design in so many ways. We could be telling stories. We could also be adding value to other people's lives, beyond telling stories as well, or improving and changing their lifestyle. So I'm of the viewpoint that you can dictate and change people's lives. You should, if it's for the better.
It will boil back to a fundamental understanding that design is basically seeking a solution to a problem, not artistic outlet, not creative vision, but purely problem solving
With intent.
with intent. I sighed just now because, I mean, hearing all that, and these are things that you don't know about. They don't consider the difficulty of just heating up water to take a shower.
Yeah.
A very basic human need. And I sighed because I'm like just hanging my head in shame. Like going on and on about visions and beauty and nuances, and there's this other side of what we do. And it took me actually quite a while to come to the terms that what we do as a business and vocation is a luxury. To be able to afford design is a luxury. Then I turned to myself and said, if I were in my client's shoe, can I afford a designer? Disregarding the fact that it's part of my skill sets. Yeah.
Like you're put in a paradoxical situation.
Yeah, I would probably be the one going IKEA, I don't know. And pointing at Pinterest pictures.
But knowing you probably will do an IKEA hack.
Yeah, I've been quite a hacker. Yeah, I built consoles and coffee tables out of stacks of magazines, found doors that's my first home when we just didn't have the means to invest in furniture after the renovation. But yes, intention, going back to the why we do certain things. I really give it to you and Jackie to really offer up your time and skills and care to outreach to segments that may not necessarily
Pay off.
That's one. Or the communities that are so invisible. Just no aspiration to have a designer come in and say, hey, can I help improve your living environment? Can I offer you heated water at home? Oh my god, I can cry. Like,
The thing is, you were talking about when you were young, right? And then someone asked you what you wanted to do, and it was very clear for you. It wasn't that clear for me. I grew up with a very dysfunctional family. I mean, not exactly dysfunctional or lack thereof, because I was like moved around from aunties to uncles because my family, my mother and father divorced. So I was very much on my own, and there was a lack of a role model. So situations like that, right, you tend to kind of look very inwards. Then there are these heroes that we see, like the Supermans and all that. And so when people ask me what I wanted to do when I was young, right, I always say I want to change the world.
save the day.
I want to change the world, save the world, or whatever lah. And I didn't know that actually, as I slowly enter into this life, right, this line, right, I realized that actually it's our ability to go into people's spaces, and then you can play a part to change people's lives, through the work that we do lah. Then with that notion, right, then I realized that it's not about just the people who can afford us, and there are also people that can get in touch with our services as well lah. But enough about me. I want to
No, let's talk about you, Lay. I love it. Plot twist, like dysfunction lays in every single family, just different aspects of it. And what could be beautiful is then that how that background and formative period shapes us. Just a little bit back to what Jackie does, I would think I'm very, very familiar with the library in the bus, that just that traveling library that goes around. Like, for me, in a huge way, that part of his work is the most beautiful output from him.
I'm toying this idea, especially seeing your installation work and all that, right? And I want to put out a challenge to you, lah. Whether you, the challenge is, let's do a museum for the blind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was schooling in Russell, right? I had this friend called Victor, and he's a sculptor, and he's blind. And you can still see his work. He uses wires, stainless steel wires, and he makes sculptures, huge sculptures of human figurines and all that. And it's all made by him, by hand, and by this blind person. And I've always kind of like explored this idea that if we were to do a museum, right, and especially as an interior designer, right, and I always say that it's skin deep lah, don't design for aesthetics, design for meaning, for purpose and all that. Then the real challenge would be, how would you design a museum for the blind lor?
Well, that's a real litmus test, but just your example, and as a person that constantly drops and loses things, just that awareness that, because we can't, for the visually impaired, you cannot possibly like, where is it, shine your iPhone touch to find that thing. It really is by that sonic mark that it leaves, and that's your only opportunity to identify where it could possibly drop. And that's just one starting point. The textures, the kind of echoes or sounds or lack thereof, and different moods, like even different spaces have very different spatial quality. Like this soundproof recording, even with your eyes closed, you can feel it quite differently. Very exciting, and I'm curious to see Victor's work. How do you create as a visual artist who is visually impaired? What is the outcome? I can only imagine that it's created by touch and just a sense of perspective and scale.
You know how artists are very insecure, right? You do something and then you step back and you admire. I don't know if it's insecurity or ego, but the thing is, you always stop to look so that you know where to go next. But when you are fabricating something like that, right, where you don't even have a starting point or ending point, right, and everything is so tactile, right, it's very profound lah. It's very profound. And then the thing is, when it's something like that, right, and there are no visual cues, I just find that's really challenging, and it's a real challenge, really. And the thing is, I think the real challenge would be that, of course, the cliche method will probably to kind of do it very tactile. But what happens, let's throw in the spanner in the works, right? And say that this is not just a museum for the blind, right? But people like normal people can also go in and appreciate it. And don't do the cliche switch off light. Don't do the blind room thing, right? Don't do the
Arts in the dark.
don't do that. Make it like, the thing about people who are handicapped, right, is that the last thing they want you to know is feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I mean that's the basis of true inclusivity, right? That it's something
That you protect their dignity.
to enjoy, and why are we also limiting it to the visually impaired?
Correct.
That would be the next question. Wow, I need to call Kelly Cheng. LaSalle students, activate. Hey, let's. That is so exciting.
It's provocative.
Let's for good reason and purpose. So let's take this conversation offline. Like I'm intrigued. Yeah. But then I mean museum and arts again already has an elitist edge to it, right? Let's see where we can find true meaning and purpose in a way that yields more ROI. I mean, if we want to really pursue accessibility, and we really need to look at it at a very fundamental level. Not to say that art is not essential and fundamental.
It's just that it has a lot of these connotations. That by itself, art, it's to be appreciated in a certain way. But I think we are disrupting law. We're definitely trying. I mean, to do this, the sole purpose for the designer, of course, besides the accessibility, inclusivity part, right, is that we are trying to disrupt the normal perception, pun intended, of a museum.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, let's question that, right? To quote the wise Colin Seah, ask the right question and beauty will follow.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity. Like, where do we even cite this? And a big failure would to be like, oh, it needs to be like in the art district. In a standalone building when you have to buy a ticket. Right.
I think the greatest take away from this is our journey in acquiring all that knowledge. When I shot the video for that short story about the blind homeowner, right, and I did that, go and watch that, okay? I had my son play a blind child, and we wanted to purchase a walking cane, a blind person's cane. They don't sell it. They don't sell it suka one. It's only for the blind. Then when we want to buy it, right, we couldn't get it anywhere. We had to go to the handicap association, the blind association to get it, right? And they refused to sell to us until I showed the script and explained the purpose. And I said, oh, I promise that it will be done in a very dignified way. And then she said, okay, but I have to teach your child, because in order for it to be dignified, right, your child needs to know how to act holding the stick. So my son had like a 1 hour learning how to do this. And it was so enriching, so enriching. And I'm so thankful for the fact that the role that we're doing right now. And again, it's an indulgent, but it opened our eyes to so many things.
Lots of learning lessons there, but the persons behind that, the retailer behind that store, really is the epitome of purpose, like very purpose driven.
Correct.
Like become guardian of the tools.
I think she was protecting not anything, but the dignity of blind people. So I think that's so important, especially when you're dealing with handicap issues.
That reflects so much.
Okay, bring us back to the mundane world. I'm gonna ask you about.
Is this conversation so mundane?
No. No, as in like the other questions that we're gonna go into, because that's gonna go offline, right?
Yeah.
So right now when we talk about interior design, right, there are many trends out in the market, and I'm sure there are certain trends that you look at it and you go like, wow, please, the homeowner don't ask me, or this customer don't ask me to do this. What are there particular trends that you're currently resisting, and why?
Well, this kind of question. Well, if something, be it the choice of materials, be it the style of expression, whatnot, gets defined as a trend, it's dangerous territory for me. Not because like I want to fight certain waves and gestures, but because if something is defined as such already, it loses longevity. There's a timestamp on it. You know for sure in 3-5 years, someone will look at it and get tired of it. Worse still, because it's so popular and so everywhere, right?
Overexposed.
Yes, you naturally become kind of, you switch it off, right? You stop noticing it. It loses its material reality,
The
and
novelty.
it loses its physicality. That's a very dangerous premise to be in, like designing in a way that you know for sure someone's gonna get tired of it, someone may not even like notice it. Yeah, you're just creating and contributing to noise.
I love this answer. I think it's not just a matter of being profound, and I think it's thought provoking in the sense that you, in a way, right, you kind of like illustrate how designers should be thinking. It's almost like your answer is an answer without giving an answer. Let me try to
I am a fortune cookie.
let me try to explain that. The thing is, you are saying almost like in a guideline kind of way to aspiring designers who are trying not to succumb to trends, is that to create stuff that's not definable as a trend. In that sense, right, your project would have mileage and longevity. I think that's what you're driving at.
Yes. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, but having said that, we still use things like terrazzo. In fact, we use it very extensively in a recent project. But because of the emotional heritage,
The growing up years with terrazzo, is it?
yeah, for the context, the place, the client, and his emotional ties to it. So that's people. But also my own appreciation of what terrazzo is as a material. It started out as a poor man's marble, where you cobble together bits
Yeah.
of industrial waste.
Scraps,
Yeah, in a way that genesis and birth of this material makes it more beautiful to behold, and it's also a craft to be able to, I mean, to buy terrazzo printed tiles and then lay it on. It's so much different in terms of just the physical appearance, but also the touch and then the seamlessness. It's a dying craft to be able to grind down terrazzo, and it's a trade that I think we are seeing less and less. One of those old dying trades that nobody wants to do anymore. So in a way, it's like cultural sustainability.
We got in touch with a supplier that's doing that now. I think you know the brand, but especially in the construction sector, Arctec Quickseal. They have came out with this very thin way of application for terrazzo. This thin is like 10 mm.
Oh,
Yeah, so they can do that.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
So
segment is brought to you by.
insert brand logo. No, but it's true. And anyway, we'll be collaborating with them
I
to
want to
showcase some of their products.
I want to know, like innovation with old materials and craft. It's something that I'm becoming more and more receptive to. I used to reject like manufactured marbles and all, but if you think about our planet and how many mountains and quarries
You're
we
gonna
want
blast
to
off, right?
yeah, level down.
Okay, we've come to almost the end, and as a tradition for Six-Sided Show, right, is that this is not a fortune cookie, I promise you. Every guest who comes in will leave a question for the next guest. So this is a very interesting question. The designer said that if you have read the news recently, you'll know that there was this person who got kena saman or fine for housing 79 dogs in a house. So this is the obvious tekan, right? Actually, so the question is, how would you design a home, right, to cater for 79 dogs?
Damn you, Jackie.
Hey, yes, I didn't say your name. I didn't say, I promise.
Yeah, I caught sight of the last video editing, so I know who was the last person. If I were to answer that honestly, it cannot be within a home, or at least a finite apartment, 79 dogs, because first we need to think about these animals and their need to roam around, that freedom to run. So it's more about where this site is located. Does it have access for that daily roaming? I cannot imagine an apartment with that number of dogs and them not being able to be let out. This person needs to be arrested.
Evidently, he did. He got arrested.
Yeah, but then that's first the broader premise. Like, is this home suitable for the purpose?
This is his style, place.
Yeah, I mean, I need to be convinced that this is a project that will work out.
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, place.
Then
the people.
Yeah, then if that fundamental need is satisfied, then we think about the other needs of a dog: shelter, nourishment, to be fed. Then we cater
Amenities.
for that. So the home then is a space to gather, to rest. How are we going to fit all of that without stacking them up in a way that is not humane? I don't know what's the square footage of that space, but to cater for that lah. But I would say the primary purpose of that place would be to cater to that vast number of occupants there. But we also then need to consider the state of well-being of the caregiver. That's often overlooked and under-catered. Does this person need a space that can remove him or herself from all that neediness and noise and smells?
Reprieve lah.
Reprieve and respite. Like, everyone needs that breather. We cater for that as well. I'm barely touching the surface of this design exercise, but that would be my first questions. If there's a possibility of and promise of a satisfactory end result, I will go for it. I'm an animal lover. So it's meaningful for me to be able to cater to needs like that.
I think he answered it in his way lah. It's just not what he kind of shared with us was that whenever he approaches a project, whenever Dennis approaches a project, he studies it based on the 3 Ps, right? Your place, the people or the occupants, and then the purpose. Yeah. But the moment this question was fielded, you kind of tackle the place first, whether it's even feasible, and approach it like an architect, feasible or not, is it humane or not, right? Then again, it eventually is about the occupants or the animals as well as the people. So it's in you already, and I think we're thankful for the fact that today we at least got a chance to kind of like grill that, or I don't know whether we grill you or not, but we managed to at least unearth certain
already.
we managed to unearth some of these hidden guidelines on how you could approach certain things. I like how he looks at trend and how they should not be labeled, because the moment you label, you put a timestamp to it, and then that's a finite mileage that you can use for a certain style, and if you start to use it, then you're exhausting that mileage as well. So if you don't define it, then it will always stay perpetual. I guess that's what you were saying lah. I love that. I interpret it my way. I'm happy that you share with us the golden rule, which was PPP, right? The 3 Ps: the place, people, and purpose. These are really gems of wisdom. So thank you, and really glad to have you for our last episode for this season of the Six-Sided Show.
So gong. But thank you so much too, Ashley, for this opportunity. I think we last interacted at the start of the reopening up since the pandemic.
Yes, yeah. That was like almost 2 years already, or 2 years.
I think more. I don't know. It felt like a few lifetimes ago.
I must say that I'm not very good at maintaining friendship. If there's any crime that I'm constantly committing, right, so I'm not putting enough effort to, like communicate with you guys. Yeah.
Busy with the day-to-day grind of certain things and our own little indulgences. But I mean, every encounter to me is heartfelt.
Thank you.
And mind-opening. To hear things from your perspective really helps me in my own introspection.
I ground you lah. I think I ground you.
Really, man?
Yeah, but you inspire me, I ground you.
Huh, really?
Yeah, you're like up there, but I'm not, and I'm not putting it in like in a very that I demean myself, but because the things that we do are a little bit ordinary, but I find the ordinary fun. I find the ordinary can be unique and extraordinary in its own way. I find that the things you do are extraordinary, and I think that's where we have that opposite attract kind of thing going. That's how I view it lah. Yeah. So you inspire me like many ways.
Fascinating way to look at it. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Cool, man.
Cool, man.
Thank you and goodbye. See you guys next season. Bye bye.